How's it going, everybody? The Seer here, and today we have some gameplay footage for you guys I want to go over regarding the Accursed team in Cosmic Crystal. We ended up doing a small play test yesterday to where we can test out the Accursed team and however we want, offense, defense again, and I ended up doing 2 rounds of this, of the team on offense, and I had enough of my footage to where I can kind of say, okay, this is my thoughts on the team. And again, this is playtest footage, so always subject to change, right? Because we've seen some footage before to where it ended up looking bad, however the team ended up being great. We've seen it where the footage looked great, but the team ended up being bad. So what does this mean? I think it gives us a kind of a open door kind of a perspective of what this team actually is capable of on the offensive side of things. You can see that they just decimate the Starjammers team. Havoc goes first. He does the ultimate into Juggernaut, and then our team ends up going for the Cursed, and you can kind of get the nice control into the team and really wipe them out. This one here, we have the Odinati team with Black Knight, because this was kind of the benchmark. Are you able to beat this team? If you are, then let's go ahead and see what else you could end up being. If you kind of fail against this team, then you're kind of, okay, what does this team need? What is it missing because it's not working properly? So this one here, you end up seeing Black Panther Shuri ends up doing her special into Juggernaut. That does kind of that rebound chain. There's no assist because of the Hood's passive, and then Odin ends up doing his special, and because he does a special, there's no battlefield effect. He doesn't end up doing that basic. You just kind of have to last with this barrage where it's new stats versus old stats. No problem there. And then you can kind of go all in on Odin. Now, the way that you can end up playing this is having the Hood end up being a striker that we just kind of get that big shot after his moves, and that would end up just kind of taking him out. And if you end up doing that, you're going to want Satana as a raider. So I'm still kind of playing around with ISOs as far as what I think works. I think each character, depending on the matchup, could end up having 2 choices on which route you want to end up going. Now, this one here is pretty interesting. So this is the stage 1 where it's the Phoenix Force with Super Skrull Thanos Endgame, and then insert 5th character here. This can go 2 separate routes. This is the good route on how it could end up going. So Hercules here is a 126 speed. He's able to go before Satana goes. He ends up hitting into Juggernaut, which ends up putting vulnerables out because this is that stage 1. So right here, you can end up seeing Juggernaut has 3 vulnerables, and so does Helverine. Please note this because this is very important on how this works for stage 1. So for this one here, you basically go all in. I want to try to take out Omega Red Phoenix Force because he is that big threat on the team where it's that ticking time bomb. Just don't push Thanos endgame. Super Skrull ends up going. Now Helverine, he has 4 vulnerables out here right now. He's not done yet because we have the Hood taking his turn. So we end up trying to put that ability block into Phoenix, and Helverine, I've said it many times, Helverine is going to end up being like Gore, like Dakin, to where he just annihilates characters because of his damage being so high. He's the 5th highest damage dealer in the game right now if you check the website without passives turned on. Now, Helverine has 7 vulnerables on the field. You pop the ultimate, and I'm so glad Phoenix was on the other side of the field because he's just going to delete everybody. Let's take a look at this damage. That was 30 million damage. Let's do a quick replay of that because it's so beautiful. So there it is. About 31 million damage. It just deleted the entire team. It's pretty insane. So that's the good way that this match up could end up going. Let's take a look at this next footage of stage 1 on how this could go sideways, because it kind of made me think what's going to end up happening. So this one here was by Updog. He's my round 1 opponent during this, and he put Sentinel out there because Phoenix Force is going to end up putting that taunt on Sentinel, and they don't have any characters faster than Satana. So what ends up happening here is Satana's going to end up having to use that ultimate into Sentinel right here. Now the Hood is going to end up taking his turn, So we do the same thing. We're going to put that ability block into Phoenix. And then Helverine's going to end up going, he doesn't have those vulnerables that he did last time. So we use the ultimate. And here you could end up seeing they have 3 vulnerables, 5 vulnerables. And now they're going to take their turns and they're just going to delete us. So you do need to be mindful of room rules, obviously, for this team, which I'm perfectly fine with. The room rules just kind of making the team okay in there, depending on what's on there. But it still makes you think, which I think it's fine. But this doesn't end up working. We end up kind of getting tossed on here. But there's more glaring issues with this team that I do want to end up talking about. Things such as Emma Frost. She is a thorn in so many sides on here. This one here, so we end up having Thunderbolt with Mephisto. This was a stage 5. Updog, I believe, did this one. He ended up taking out Taskmaster. And we just kind of roll through this. But let's keep talking about Emma Frost. So Emma Frost lowers the speed by 10%. Satana has a 125 speed. That's 12.5 speed. I always round that up to 13 because of how it goes into ticks, or how the game works. After that, we end up having the Hood at 124 speed. He ends up going down to about 112 to 113 speed as well. Helverine is 122 speed. That knocks him down closer to about 12 speed, but it still goes into the ticks. So those characters are kind of being pushed down, meaning it's very easy to get ahead of this team. And that's one of my main concerns of how this team is going to end up functioning. Is this team has some glaring weaknesses because of this, to where you can get ahead of this team, do this huge burst damage to just kind of take them out before they can really do anything. And it's a matter of, can they end up recovering? That's the big question. Now, this matchup here, we have Professor X, we have Mephisto, we have Null, we have a pre-taunt and Gladiator. The Accursed team stops taunt from heroes, meaning villains can still get their taunt. And then we have Emma Frost X-Men. This is one of the more standard defenses that we do find in Cosmic Crucible, where it's kind of a Mephisto, Xavier, new Emma, insert whoever else after that, because you're basically shutting down Starjamer counters. So you're stopping the speed, you're stopping the turn meter and everything. And as you see, Mordo's already been killed off right here. The Xavier counter, they just are way too fast, and they just kind of have their way with the team. And as you saw, I end up putting Quasar in here because Quasar ends up making it to where they have immunity at spawn, meaning Juggernaut's able to get the safeguard and everything out there. So Quasar's a pretty good 5th option, depending on what you're going into, if you do need the extra oomph of a character on here. So now we have this team here. So it's another Xavier. We have Odin, Null, new Emma, Kingpin. This is another one of those type of counters or rooms that we see in Cosmic Crucible. So for this one here, Odin ends up doing that special. There was no assist on there, so he just kind of gets the buffs out there. And this was the flat team, so I did end up putting Quasar, and so you can kind of see what ends up happening here. It's the same result, right? It's Xavier. I'm not expecting this team to be able to beat an Xavier team. They just don't have the tools to be able to do it, which is why Xavier is kind of one of the hard counters into this team, or more of a safety precaution into this team, because you're stopping the speed bar that Juggernaut would typically get when you're hitting into Helverine. So that's kind of what ends up happening there. The health steal that Satana does, it's 66% damage, so it's nothing to be kind of laughing at. It's pretty insane damage that she does with her moves. But again, you're kind of seeing us getting rolled into here. But let's go ahead and move into the Emma gameplay footage, because this was insane and kind of threw me off guard. So this one here was with Quasar, same type of deal. We put Quasar in. I just wanted to see what could kind of end up happening with this. We were able to get through Kingpin on here. We end up doing that ult into Xavier, so that was Satana's first turn. Quasar's killed off. Helverine does the ultimate. We had some pretty good damage out there, but if this were to be a sack, we would have pulled the special from Xavier. We pulled the special from Odin. meaning that I think we'd have to do a double stack, because otherwise you're walking into an Xavier ultimate, which you don't want to end up doing. So this would end up being like a double stack, then kind of throw them in. Now this right here was a team that Dorky had on defense. I'm like, oh, this shouldn't be bad, right? I mean, we have Kahori, Omega Sentinel, APOC, we have Sasquatch, then there's the White Queen right there of Emma Frost. This caught me off guard, and I would just kind of laughed at it. So Kahori does the passive shot, Omega Sentinel does her ultimate. We don't get stunned as far as that goes because we're all Mystic. APOC goes, he does the ultimate. He doesn't get the turn meter because of the Accursed. And now we can kind of get our turn. So we do the special from Juggernaut. We get the ping from Omega Sentinel. Now Kahori does the special. And it is game over. This was just insane how fast this team got ahead of the Accursed and just kind of destroying them. Because Satana did take a turn. But because that safeguard was on there, we don't get the trauma when Kahori does the special. But this is something that we need to be mindful of if you use this team on offense. If you see Emma Frost on the other side of the field, you're going to need to throw APOC or Nightcrawler, something to stop the speed stat changing on your side of the field for the counter that you're going into. Otherwise, you're just going to get rolled like that. Now, the good thing is we do have counters already built for teams that if you see that team, just don't do it, right? So that's going to end up happening. This one here, I was shocked. So what's going on is Agatha is taking turn 1 on here, and you can see the turn bars. Man-Thing gives a flat speed to the full Nightstalker team. Agatha is a villain, meaning she's going to be going first. She ends up doing the ultimate right here. So now they end up having the debuffs cleared. They got pushed down. The taunt ends up being applied due to the reflex of taunt into Juggernaut. Now Blade ends up going. He does the ultimate. You can't turn me to rewind this team. But because of the Xavier saga, Blade and Oath are going to be G20 for several players. Sorry. So Blade ends up doing the ultimate here, and as overpowered, this would end up deleting these two characters unless you had those characters at G20 as well. Because having Juggernaut at G20, that was something I was thinking of doing. Same with Helverine, meaning that they wouldn't have the overpowered hit on this, but they still just kind of got wrecked right there. Agatha does the ping, Oath takes her turn, and the team is just gone in basically 3 turns. Can this team right here, let me hit play. So Agatha ends up doing the pings right here. Yeah, so what ends up happening is they are basically decimated. Can you end up rebounding from this with just Satana and the Hood into the Nightstalker teams? I don't think you can. So this team would be toast. It is a huge glaring hole into this team. So now I do want to end up talking about the weaknesses. So lack of speed causes issues, as it's easy to get ahead of this team with the natural high speed characters. That's characters that have that 126 or higher. Unless you end up going into Emma, then you have an open door policy of, hey, I can bring whoever I want to get ahead of this team because they don't have immunity on spawn. So if I bring Songbird in, I can ult turn 1. That would end up kind of flipping everything. So I can get off the taunt. I can get the stuns out there into, say, Satana. That's going to end up hampering them. Get it kind of a push into Helverine. Throw Captain Britain with that team. You're stopping turn meter. So on the defensive side of things, I think we have way too many counters. I'm curious how Vigilante would end up doing if you end up taking out Electra and throwing in like Captain Britain. That would allow it to where Silver Sable's going to end up doing the ult turn 1. You're not going to get off the taunt from Juggernaut, but then Hitmonkey can go, does the ultimate, gets the stun into Juggernaut. That would apply another stun into either Helverine or maybe the Hood. That would kind of stop it a little bit. And then you can try to get somebody else out there. I think there's ways that we can end up going into this. The team also doesn't have unavoidable attacks. So maybe you could end up throwing a Weaver in there, making it to where they have that lower accuracy. So I think On the defensive side of things, this team isn't going to hold as well as we initially thought it would. But on the offensive side of things, this kind of limits what you could end up punching into because of the glaring weaknesses. If there's an OG Emma on the other side of the field, you need to take those precautions. You need to take that Nightcrawler. You need to take an APOC. You need to bring something that's going to end up saving this team. Otherwise, they just kind of get rolled from it. The Nightstalker thing just totally baffled me. I did not think it would go that way. It's like, okay, so I think we should be okay on here. We'll take a few hits. Agatha just ulted turn 1, and then Blade, and then Oath. It's just too big of an open barrage. So at lower stars, I think the Accursed team would get rolled by that. Maybe on an even playing ground, because again, this is test server footage. If they could end up surviving that opening, then Satana gets her ult off. That would end up doing the health kind of, not rebalance, but healing the team up and rebalance the damage that she ended up doing to the team. I think that's something that could end up kind of saving them. It's just interesting on how they were trying to go for a team that's not fast, but is resilient, because Mordo on the team, as enemies get killed off, he heals the team up, or the lowest health character. He ends up getting this ability energy. As Mystics get killed off, Satana does the heals on the hits as well. They don't have like any drain effect. Well, Juggernaut does on the ultimate. Otherwise, the healing's coming from kills, Satana's abilities, and then Juggernaut's ultimate with the drain. So it's pretty interesting as far as the footage goes. I don't think this means the team is trash, or by any set of the words. It's just, you need to be mindful. So I'm glad we were able to get this footage out for the Cosmic Crucible portion of the team. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Until next time.